Welcome back to another episode on the Firefighter Knots channel. Today we're going to cover hitch knots and the Jones and Bartlett and the IFSA curriculum. There are two hitch knots that we're going to use, the half hitch and the clove hitch. Both of these are pretty simple. Half hitch is very straightforward, and then we will tie the clove hitch two different ways. We will tie the clove hitch around an object and out in the open and slip over method. So we'll get right into it. We're going to use the working end of our rope. We're going to start with a half hitch, and half hitches are quite straightforward. You're going to use these in tying up tools, axes, pike poles, hose lines. Pretty easy one, but it can trip you up. So we'll get right into it. For the half hitch, we want to start sort of in the working part, a little ways back. Depending on what you're tying up, you might start in the middle of the rope to create a tagline, but all we do for our half hitch is we're just putting a turn into our rope, and that is a formed half hitch there. We can very easily add another one and pass it over. And there we see a pair of half hitches. It's a pair of half hitches, not to be confused with two half hitches, which is an entirely different knot. We'll do a different day. Again, half hitch. We can do it again. All we're doing is taking it and forming a loop and passing over. And that forms a nice half hitch. Now we'll go into the clove hitch. We'll start out with tying the clove hitch around an object. This seems to trip the most people up. We're going to start with the working end of our rope, and we're going to go around our object once. We're going to go around our object a second time. What we see here when we go around the second time is we want to make an X, and then we take our working end of the rope and pass underneath that X, and we dress our knot down. There is a nice looking clove hitch. For the Firefighter Academy students, we need to put a safety knot on here. So then we take the working end, and we need to make sure we have enough tail. We take our working end and we make an overhand safety knot there. I know in the last episode we talked about using a double overhand safety knot. We'll go into that really quick. For the double overhand, we need just a little more tail. Again, we still have our clove hitch. We're just going to rotate it around to make it easier to work on. We take our working end and we're going to go up and over once and twice and back down through the middle to form our double overhand safety knot. Generally speaking, safety knots should be placed within about an inch or a finger width of the knot. So there we see it again. We have our clove hitch with an overhand safety knot. That's the clove hitch tied around an object. And I'll show you that one more time without the safety knot. So we take our rope and we go over once. We go over twice. And we form an X. And then we take our working end and pass it underneath that X, and we tighten our knot up There we have our clove hitch. This knot is your starting point for tying up tools like pike poles, axes, and it's great for tying on tag lines and things like that. So this is an important one to know. Well, we have a second method for tying our clove hitch, and that's tying it in the open and passing it over an object, which if you have to tie this in the middle of a leg of rope, you'll have to know how to do it this way so you're not pulling loads and loads of rope through. So all we do is we're going to make a loop one direction, and we're going to make a loop the opposite direction. So you can see here these are opposites, and we're going to take our bottom loop, which comes down through the bottom, and pass it over top of our other loop, and then we slide it over our object. If we have to tie this in the middle of a rope for tying up a pike pole, it's going to be really hard to put a safety knot on here, but the only time we're doing that is when the working end is also acting as a tagline of sorts, and so this knot will be under tension. You really don't need to have a safety knot in it. So I'll show you that again quickly, and then we'll start over again with the half hitch. So for the clove hitch in the open, we make a loop. In this case, we're going to see the standing part running over top, and then we make another loop the opposite direction where we see the working end of the rope going underneath, and we pass over the top around our object and tighten. That's our clove hitch around an object. So there's your hitch knots. I'll do a quick run through once more of them. We're going to put a half hitch around this object. So grab the rope and make a loop and pass it on. And we grab the rope, make a loop, and pass it on. Sorry, this is getting a lot of twist in it. There is another half hitch. These are real easy to adjust. You can just grab them and slide them. We grab the rope, we make a loop, and we slide it on. That is your basic half hitch. Clove hitch, around an object, we go around once, we go around twice, form the X, and go underneath. Make sure to leave enough tail to tie the safety knot around the running part of the line. And we will tie the clove hitch in the open again one more time, just to recap. So we make a loop with the standing part running over top, and then we make a loop the opposite with the working end coming out underneath, and we pass this one over this one and slide over our object, and we will finish out with safety knot. Again, safety knot about an inch away. Okay guys, that's it for this episode on the Firefighter Knots channel. We learned our hitch knots. We learned how to do a half hitch. We learned how to do a clove hitch around an object. And we learned how to do a clove hitch in the open and slipped over the top. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.